Helicopters flying through the city. Jerusalem is sitting pretty. No sedity. We them black doves. Creatures get no pity. Party hard until the morning. Ain't no bodies, ain't no morning. We can elevate, heaven made, meditate. Prayer meditate every day, relevant every day. I rise and see the horror horizon. See it when they evil surmising. Just a tip to my visor. No shade when I open my eyes. A visine come with couple surprises. The thought of a crown profound when you posing on islands. Poses wait until you closing your eyelids. Lullabies of the loveliest sirens. Ain't no silence. Jews seeking asylum. Had our land stolen, thrown in the projects. When you speak the truth, get the talking, you talk it. Swing from a tree, ain't talking about Tarzan. If I'm a marksman, best believe my God is a marksman. Pop crowns off the top of imposters, can't mock
keep it
him.
royal, look at us spoil. It's not like my father, keep it honest. You the father, no, we ain't coming for you. Toasted the loyal, pick up the crown, keep it 10 toes down. I pray I'm trying to be royal. Look at us spoil. It's not like my father, keep it honest. You the father, no, we ain't coming for you. Toasted the loyal, pick up the crown, keep it 10 toes down. I pray.
Taking the loss when you the vanguards. Be willing to fall for who you stand for. Are you gon' man up or just abandon? Better to speak with your action than taking it back, so it's best don't say none. Yeah, keeping it raw, keep it A1. 100 times I done did 100 crimes, 100 down, 100 rounds. Know I need to repent before the final sound of trumpets. Ain't no homecoming, coming home with 144,000 mighty men of valor. We wildin', dumb it down. Diamonds on my wrist, foreign torn whips. Even when I rent, living like I'm rich. Real niggas zip the lip and I never snitch. God could've killed me when I went and sold a zip. What's it really for? Keep your crown and keep it raw. Christ making iron might crumble like aluminum foil. Used to roll with the Forbes, now I roll with the Force. Christ King, high beams through a deer on the road.
Keep it royal, look at us spoil. It's not like my father, keep it honest. You the father, no, we ain't coming for you. Toasted the loyal, pick up the crown, keep it 10 toes down. I pray I'm proud to be royal. Look at us spoil. It's not like my father, keep it honest. You the father, no, we ain't coming for you. Toasted the loyal, pick up the crown, keep it 10 toes down. I pray.
Mag, run it back for him.
Neo.
1, 2, 3, 4.
1, 4, 4, 4, the 1, 2 tribes, yeah. One Christ, one God, one spirit, one mind, yeah. 7 angels, trumpets, and vows, yeah.
Babe, what's the mount?
Let me count, yeah. 1, 4, 4, 4, the 1, 2 tribes, yeah. One Christ, one God, one spirit, one mind, yeah. 7 angels, trumpets, and vows, yeah.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, that what we do, yeah. Jacob, we coming through, yeah. We them Jews you see on the news, yeah. We them Jews that be making moves, yo. Whoa, we got the flow, with so much drip they cannot hold us. We got them showing up, kill the dragon, no opponent. Put purple on it, crown the king and crackers phone it. Like Christ had told me, deep in the movement, fluent with influence and get influence. No static but physical beef you gon' lose. And stop talking that foolery. Either you're being confused or confused. Smart talk with 2 lips, gets arms crossed with 2 lips. Don't care who you live up to, I'm trying to live. This light is too lit. The real Jews back on Jews, not on Jewish. Rock garments with the fringes, not a tunic. Bring out a tune and they tune in.
1, 4, 4, 4, the 1, 2 tribes, yeah. One Christ, one God, one spirit, one mind, yeah. 7 angels, trumpets, and vows, yeah.
Babe, what's the mount?
Let me count, yeah. 1, 4, 4, 4, the 1, 2 tribes, yeah. One Christ, one God, one spirit, one mind, yeah. 7 angels, trumpets, and vows, yeah.
Yo. 1, 4, 4, 4, 1, 2 soldados, cuidando a ellos que nos odian, que bravo, criando y yendo al cielo un legado, transformando en un papadeo, en un vistazo, wow. wow. Mira, ten cuidado con un regalo, wow. Beso, 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 te hacen ciego. Tras viene negro, ellos, they done seen a ghost. Labios que corren, está congelado, bro. They say, why you always gotta do the most? Cause there's a lot of souls that are losing hope. Don't do it for the gram, do it for your folk. They say we go in hand, we don't do the boat. Oh no, Christ the goat, oh no, do the woke. Christ viene negro, ayo, they done seen a ghost. Oh no, we the chosen, no, standing bold. Labios que corren, están congelados, bro.
1444, the 1, 2 tribes, yeah. One Christ, one God, one spirit, one mind, yeah. 7 angels, trumpets, and vials, yeah. Let me count, yeah.
I wanna change my life.
Check, check. Can y'all hear me? Shalom, shalom. Most High Christ bless. All right, all right. All right, Israel. Most High Christ bless. Good morning. Welcome to another edition of History in the AM. I'm Captain Josiah out of Raleigh, North Carolina. All right, I see Badash, Ezekiel, Nehemiah, Darren, Sister Benjamin, Sister Gabriella. All praise to the Most High. All right, so we're going to get right in. We're going to go through Judges chapter 16 today. It's not a long chapter, so may not be a long lesson. Judges 16, also the tribe of Dan. We're going to touch on the tribe of Dan as well. So let's jump right in. All right. Let me see. Don't want to touch on a recap. No, I'm not going to recap. The prior lessons, right, for those of y'all that may not know, are on Facebook. I went through Judges 1 through 15 so far. Not in one day, of course. Various lessons, so you have to go find them. Judges 16, verse 1. Then went Samson to Gaza, and saw there an harlot, and went in unto her. And it was told the Gazite saying, Samson is come hither. And they compassed him in and laid wait for him all night in the gate of the city, and were quiet all night, saying, in the morning, when it is day, we shall kill him. So Judges 18, real quick. I'm sorry, Joshua 13. The 13 I want to deal with, I'm going to show y'all on the map too real quick. But Joshua 13 and verse 3. From Sihor, which is before Egypt, even unto the borders of Ekron northward, which is counted to the Canaanite, 5 lords of the Philistines, the Gazathites, the Ashdodites, the Ashkelonites, the Gittites, the Ekronites, and the Avites. Okay. So what did I want here? 5 lords of the Philistines, which were highlighting the Gazathites here. Okay. So this is who he's dealing with in Gaza. Now I want to show y'all that on this map right here. All right. So look at the map. On the far left corner, right above the IUIC logo, all right, is Gaza. Okay. Now, if you look at the tribal allotments of Dan, Okay, you look at Zorah at the bottom half of tribe of Dan in orange. You see Zorah and Eshtal. Those are the areas that Samson is from right there. So he traveled down to Gaza. All right, that's what we're reading about here. Read verse 1 again. Then went Samson to Gaza and saw there an harlot and went in unto her. And it was told the Gazites, which were the Philistines, right? Joshua 13:3, saying, Samson is come hither. And they compassed him in and laid wait for him all night in the gate of the city, and were quiet all night, saying, in the morning, when it is day, we shall kill him. And Samson lay till midnight, and arose at midnight, and took the doors of the gate of the city and the 2 posts, and went away with them. So Samson laid there. It says he arose at midnight and took the doors of the gate of the city, not a door to your house, not a 36-inch door to your house that you can, pick up and put in the back of your truck. It says he took the doors of the gate of the city and the 2 posts, and went away with them, bar and all, and put them up upon his shoulders, and carried them up to the top of an hill that is before Hebron. So wait a minute. He took, I got to go over this again. He took the doors of the gate and the 2 posts, bar and all, and put that on his shoulders and carried them to Hebron. Now, watch this. Watch this right here. Check this out. We already read that he went to Gaza, right? So he went to Gaza and he took the doors of the gate of the city, 2 posts, bar and all, and he went from Gaza right before Hebron. Okay? Now, look at the distance here. All 37 miles, 37.3 miles. It says right before Hebron. So maybe about 36 miles, 35 miles, whatever the case like that. Okay? Samson traveled this far with the doors of the gate of the city, the 2 posts, bar and all, upon his shoulders. So that's straight flexing right there. All right? This is another level. Sometimes we just read past it. We don't really understand, like, damn. From Gaza to Hebron with the gate of the city. Okay, then he took them, it says, and carried them up to the top of an hill. Okay, on top of a small mountain. Okay, a hill. All right. Let me get back on the screen here. Verse 4. And it came to pass afterward that he loved a woman in the valley of Sorek, whose name was Delilah. Okay. That term Sorek means choice vine, and I'll show y'all that as well on the map. All right. Give me a sec here. All right. So you see, now if you look at the bottom, where that red arrow is, you see Hebron there. Okay, so that's where he went, from Gaza to Hebron. Now the valley of Sorek, if you look back up towards the middle upper portion of the map, like I said, between Zorah and Eshtal, the valley of Sorek is right in between there. All right, so that's where he met Delilah. Samson had a whoremonger spirit on him. We already see from verse 1, he saw a harlot, dealt with the harlot. Now he coming to the valley of Sorek. The harlot was in Gaza. Keep in mind, the harlot was in Gaza. Okay. Now he traveling to the valley of Sorek, and now he dealing with, he see Delilah. Okay. So let's go back to 4 again. And it came to pass afterward that he loved a woman in the valley of Sorek, whose name was Delilah. Delilah means languished. All right. Delicate woman. Very beautiful. All right. Very beautiful, but it means languishing because she destroyed the brother. Okay. whose name was Delilah. And the lords of the Philistines came up unto her and said unto her, entice him and see wherein his great strength lieth, and by what means we may prevail against him, that we may bind him to afflict him, and we will give thee every one of us 1,100 pieces of silver. So now, we read it earlier from Joshua 13:3. I'll go back to it because this says here in verse 5, and the lords of the Philistines came up unto her. And then I'll skip down to the bottom, and we will give to thee every one of us 1,100 pieces of silver. Right. So let's go back. Joshua 13:3. From Sihor, which is before Egypt, even unto the borders of Ekron northward, which is counted to the Canaanite, 5 lords of the Philistines. So 5 lords of the Philistines. The Gazathites, the Asherites, the Ashkelonites, the Gittites, the Ekronites, also the Avites. So really 6. 5 primary, but really 6. Okay. So now it says, every one of us will give thee 1,100 pieces of silver if you can entice him and find out where his great strength lieth. All right. So let's see. Roughly. Right. This is older right here, but I just want to show y'all just something for reference, right? When you look here, it says the answer based upon my research and calculations is approximately $89,641. All right. Meaning what? What is this answering? This is answering how much does 5 lords of the Philistines, really 6, giving her 1,100 pieces of silver. What does that translate to today? All right. Approximately $89,641. Now, this is old. Okay. This is old. This is like, I just pulled something up real quick. 2012. We know that the inflation now, this could be easily $100,000 now. Easily. Okay. So she was willing to sell Samson out for $100K. All right. $100K. I'll just leave it just as a rough estimate, right? Today, with inflation and so forth. Probably more than that. All right. Verse 6. And Delilah said to Samson, tell me, I pray thee, wherein thy great strength lieth, and wherewith thou mightest be bound to afflict thee. Now, think about that. If any woman asks you brothers that, or if you sisters even thought to ask a brother that, something wrong with your spirit. Okay. Now this was a heathen nevertheless. Okay. But if you brothers, if your wife or any sister that you proven or whatever the case asks you something like this, get the hell away from her. But our brother Samson, he didn't have this understanding. Again, the brother, he had a heavy lust demon, whoremonger spirit on him. All right. Already between, a couple of verses in the chapter, he done dealt with 2 women. Prior to this, he had already dealt with another woman of another nation. Okay. So 6 again, or 5. And the lords of the Philistines came up unto her and said unto her, entice him and see wherein his great strength lieth, and by what means we may prevail against him, that we may bind him to afflict him, and we will give thee every one of us 1,100 pieces of silver. And Delilah said to Samson, tell me, I pray thee, wherein thy great strength lieth, and wherewith thou mightest be bound to afflict thee. So how is it that you have this great strength, and by what means could you be destroyed, really? Verse 7. So now, instead of Samson getting the hell away from her, he starts to entertain this conversation. And Samson said unto her, if they bind me with 7 green withs that were never dried, then shall I be weak and be as another man. Then the lords of the Philistines brought up to her 7 green withs which had not been dried, and she bound him with them. So again, all this conversation took place, obviously, before sex. Then she bound him. Okay, so he's laying there. Again, he entertained this idea. He entertained this with this woman. Okay. Verse 9. Now there were men lying in wait, abiding with her in the chamber. That's the proof right there. In the chamber. There were men lying in wait, abiding with her in the chamber. So the woman asked, hey, how is it that we can destroy you? Or you can be destroyed? And he still went and dealt with her anyway. Brother, simple, man. Very simple. Okay. But I'm gonna show y'all something. Judges 14. Okay. Judges 14, verse 4. I'm gonna read 3 and 4. This is when, he saw a woman of Timnath, which was another daughter of the Philistines. Watch this. Judges 14 and 3. Then his father and his mother said unto him, is there never a woman among the daughters of thy brethren, or among all my people, that thou goest to take a wife of the uncircumcised Philistines? All right. And Samson said unto his father, get her for me, for he pleaseth me well. Didn't take the counsel. So again, lusting for the other nations and not taking the counsel of his mother and father. More or less the scriptures. Okay. First and foremost, the scriptures. Right. But as father and mother saying, listen, get a wife of the seed of your brothers and sisters and so forth. Your nation. Samson said, nah, get her for me. All right. But verse 4 is the point. But his father and his mother knew not that it was of the Lord that he sought an occasion against the Philistines, for at that time the Philistines had dominion over Israel. So Deacon Asaph did a class some time ago called God is a User. I think it's called that. God is a User. This is telling us in Joshua 14, Judges 14:4, that this was of the Lord. All right. The Most High wanted to judge the Philistines because they had dominion over us as a people. So he was using Samson's lust demon for the other nations and so forth, him being simple, all right, to actually judge the Philistines. That's what it's saying. So although we're reading it, the Most High had a bigger purpose behind the scenes. All right. Back to Judges 16 and verse 9. Now there were men lying in wait, abiding with her in the chamber. And she said unto him, the Philistines be upon thee, Samson. And he brake his wits, and as a thread of tow is broken when it toucheth the fire, so his strength was not known. So he just, boom, easy, broke him off. Obviously that wasn't, we're reading it in hindsight now that wasn't where his great strength lieth. All right. Not in, just putting a couple of green withs on him. Verse 10. And Delilah said unto Samson, behold, thou hast mocked me and told me lies. Now tell me, I pray thee, wherewith thou mightest be bound. Okay. So think about it. Now he answered her the first time, and she actually set him up to see if that worked. All right. Hey, the Philistines be upon thee. He still went back to her again. Even after that. Okay. I'm telling you, brother, simple, man. Brother was very simple. Matter of fact, let me get Sirach 26. Sirach 26 and 23. A wicked woman is given as a portion to a wicked man, but a godly woman is given to him that feareth the Lord. When we fear the Lord, we keep God's commandments. That's the type of woman we're going to have. Okay. Samson, he already dealt with the woman of Timnath of the Philistines, went in to marry her, dealt with a harlot in Gaza. Now he's in Sorek dealing with Delilah. Being wicked, being simple. So Obviously, she was a heathen. We're not talking about an Israelite woman trying to set him up, but this is what you get when you deal with women of the other nations. All right. This goes for our ball players, the athletes, entertainers, brothers with all the money. Oftentimes, this is what they do: go out and deal with women of another nation, and they take your wealth and take it back to their fathers, their nation, and so forth. It doesn't go back to building our communities up. Okay, and we're not talking about giving away turkeys and things like that, which is unbiblical in terms of keeping Thanksgiving, all right, and Christmas and all that garbage. All right, not that you can't eat turkey. All right, verse 10 again. And Delilah said unto Samson, Behold, thou hast mocked me and told me lies. Now tell me, I pray thee, wherewith thou mightest be bound. And he said unto her, If they bind me fast with new ropes that never were occupied, then shall I be weak and be as another man. And be as another man. Verse 12. Delilah therefore took new ropes and bound him therewith, and said unto him, The Philistines be upon thee, Samson. And there were liars in wait abiding in the chamber, and he brake them from off his arms like a thread. So once again, in the chamber where he dealing with Delilah after he dealt with her, she didn't tie him up. Hey, the Philistines be upon thee. Okay. And okay, it didn't affect him, but the brother still went back to her again. A wicked woman is given as a portion to a wicked man. But him that feareth the Lord, right? It says what again? Let me go back to it. Sirach 26 and 23. But a godly woman is given to him that feareth the Lord. That's that righteous Israelite woman. Okay. Now let's go back. Judges 16. See something here. Yes, Judges 16, 13. And Delilah said unto Samson, Hitherto thou hast mocked me and told me lies. Tell me wherewith thou mightest be bound. And he said unto her, If thou weavest the 7 locks of my head with the web, and she fastened it with the pin and said unto him, The Philistines be upon thee, Samson. And he awaked out of his sleep and went away with the pin of the beam and with the web. So now he says, okay, if you take the 7 locks of my head and if thou weavest the 7 locks of my head with the web. So guess what? She did it. Okay. So now this is the 3rd time. He keep going back to this woman. She keeps setting him up. He keep going back to her. He had a heavy lust demon on him. Okay. An affinity for the heathen. All right. Now, again, Delilah means delicate. Okay. Beautiful, but it also means languish. Okay. She destroying his brother. And now I want to deal with that part right there that says the 7 locks. I want to show y'all something. This right here is I don't know when this actual movie was created, but look at Esau. Esau trying to claim our heritage of being the Israelites. All right, look at this one. This is another one right here. This is the back. Where do we see 7 locks in this image? Okay, where do we see 7 locks? It does not exist. Esau is a damn devil. Look at this one. Okay, where do you see 7 locks? Where would he have 7 locks at? This is an old movie, 1949. Okay, you know what this is right here? I'm gonna read this scripture. Revelation 12 and verse 15. And the serpent cast out of his mouth water as a flood after the woman, that he might cause her to be carried away with the flood. You know what that flood is? Lies, confusion. Okay. It also goes with Revelation 13, verse 15. Now, this is talking about the image of Christ here, right? Verse 15, Revelation 13, 15. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. So that image of Christ, that false image of Christ they gave us, which was actually Caesar Borgia, okay, caused everybody upon the planet, primarily our people, to worship that image. So painting Christ white, pushing his image throughout the earth, they also have to make all the other Israelites, okay, quote unquote, Caucasian. And this is another example right here. Again, the scripture says Samson had 7 locks. This is another one right here. Where do we see 7 locks? Okay, I would imagine Samson is probably the brother, the Edomite that's in the middle right there. It says great leaders of the Bible, Samson and Gideon. Okay, this is some demonic stuff right here. Okay, this is the serpent casting out of their mouth water as a flood. Understand, our people are now reading the Bible. They got to put their false images out there. This is another one. You see this? 2018 movie. Where would he have locks? Where's his 7 locks at? Okay. It does not exist. Here's another one. Look at this. They even did a cartoon version. That was in 2019. I haven't seen any of these, by the way, but these are just things that I pulled up for reference. I'm reading it and I'm like, okay, 7 locks. So let's see what Esau got out there. We know he's the devil, okay, but he got to be revealed in his time. Now it's his time to be revealed. Now this is a movie right here. This is one where they have, okay, somewhat accurate image of what Samson would have looked like. All right. But I want to show y'all something. Okay, here's another one right here. Right, that's an accurate image, somewhat. This movie right here was called Homeland. Okay, 2013. All right, somewhat of an accurate image of what Samson looked like for the most part. We can deal with that. We can rock with this one. But check this out in this movie. All right. The Bible miniseries didn't devote a full episode to every major biblical character, but a little over half of the Homeland episode tells Samson's story. All right. Since the episode only spends 25 minutes of its 48-minute runtime on Samson's story, plenty of material gets condensed. Okay. So now, what am I showing y'all here? They saying out of the 48-minute runtime, they spent 25 minutes on telling Samson's story, but he looked like this in the movie. Okay, so they gave him 25 minutes, right? 25 minutes. But check this out right here. Now, we already seen like 4, 5, 6 other ones, so-called Caucasians. Look, this is another one right here. Okay, this is another one. I want y'all to see something. Look at the difference. All right. This is another one. The Bible collection, Samson and Delilah. This was 1996. Now, this Caucasian image in 1996, they gave Jake 25 minutes out of a 48-minute episode. All right, look at this. All right. It says the Bible collection devotes 2 90-minute episodes to Samson's story, which makes for a long but never boring TV movie. So 2 90-minute episodes of what? Of lies. 2 90-minute episodes of this right here. Meanwhile, they give Jake a little 25 minutes of a 48-minute episode. So again, that goes right back. I'll read it one more time. Okay. Revelation 12 and verse 15. And the serpent. Now, y'all go watch Deacon Malachi's class from this past Sabbath. He went into what that serpent is. It's Esau, so-called Caucasian man today. All right. And the serpent cast out of his mouth water as a flood after the woman. The woman is the 12 tribes of Israel. Okay. Why after the woman? Because we began to wake up and they have to now try to spread lies to confuse us. That's what this is saying. And the serpent cast out of his mouth water as a flood after the woman, that he may cause her to be carried away of the flood. Okay. To cause confusions. While we on this, right? While we're on this right here, okay, everybody needs to visit royaltyfilms.com. Royaltyfilms.com. All right. There's a short film that was already released called Joseph's Dream. You can donate to royaltyfilms.com for accurate, 100% accurate biblical imagery. Okay, royaltyfilms.com. Joseph's Dream was already released. There's another short film coming out here soon called The Curse of Miriam. All right, The Curse of Miriam. Y'all can donate to this. All right, accurate biblical images. I'm gonna show y'all. All right, this is an idea of what happened to Miriam back then. All right, the scripture says basically she was stripped of her melanin. She was as one dead. She lost all her color. Why? For speaking against Moses. Okay. So royaltyfilms.com. Royaltyfilms.com. Let's get back to the lesson. I was in verse 13. All right. Well, I went past it. I started 13 again. And Delilah said unto Samson, hitherto thou hast mocked me and told me lies. Tell me wherewith thou mightest be bound. And he said unto her, if thou weavest the 7 locks of my head with the web. And she fastened it with the pin and said unto him, the Philistines be upon thee, Samson. And he awaked out of his sleep and went away with the pin of the beam and with the web. And she said unto him, how canst thou say I love thee when thine heart is not with me? Thou hast mocked me these 3 times and hast told me wherewith, and has not told me, wherein thou great strength lieth. So again, Samson got set up 3 different times. It didn't work, obviously, because he didn't tell her where his great strength lieth. But again, he's still dealing with her. Why didn't he just get the hell away? We already read why, okay, in Joshua 14, Judges 14:4. This was of the Lord, right? He had an occasion against the Philistines. He wanted to judge him. He was going to use Samson, okay? Again, going back to Deacon Asaph's class some years ago. I don't know if it was the early part of this year, maybe last year. I think it was probably last year sometime. God is a user. Okay, y'all go check that class out. Verse 16. And it came to pass when she pressed him daily with her words and urged him so that his soul was vexed unto death. So constantly nagging him every day. Where's your strength? Where's your strength? How can you be bound? This, that, and the third. Okay. But he's still having sex with her. He's still dealing with her. Crazy as shit. Crazy. Okay. Then he told her all his heart and said unto her, there have not come a razor upon my head, for I have been a Nazarite unto God from my mother's womb. If I be shaven, then my strength will go from me, and I shall be weak and be like other men. Okay, so now he told her everything. He told her the true secret behind where his strength lieth. All right, he was a Nazarite from birth. Let me get Sirach chapter 8, verse 18 and 19. It says, do no secret thing before a stranger. See that? Do no secret thing before a stranger. God calls the other nations, the women of the other nations, strange women. Okay, that's what he calls them. Do no secret thing before a stranger, for thou knowest not what he will bring forth. Okay, meaning they'll set you up. Open not thine heart to every man. Every man who? These strange women, strange men, the heathens and so forth. Okay, open not thine heart to every man, lest he requite thee with a shrewd turn. Samson, he should have seen it from the beginning. As soon as she asked him the first question, he'd be like, yo, she trying to figure out how to set me up. I'm getting the hell away from her. But he didn't, okay? So this is a a warning from God for you Israelites. All right. Stay away from these heathen women. I'll read this again, Sirach 8:18 and 19. Do no secret thing before a stranger, for thou knowest not what he will bring forth. Open not thine heart to every man, lest he requite thee with a shrewd turn. Okay. So 3 times set him up, didn't work. She pressed him daily, pressed him. So he finally gave into her. All right. Ain't nobody ever cut my hair. I've been a Nazarite from birth. Okay. Let's go back to Judges chapter 16. Let me get one more. Micah chapter 7. Y'all should know this, right? We watch this. Micah chapter 7, verse 5. Trust ye not in a friend. Put ye not confidence in a guide. Keep the doors of thy mouth from her that lieth in thy bosom. Keep the doors of thy mouth from her that lieth in thy bosom. Now, this is talking about the Israelites, the Israelite women. Okay, if you an Israelite woman and you trying to get your Lord to tell you everything that's going on in the congregation, all right, what's going on with this brother, this officer, your spirit is off. Right? God is telling the men he can't tell you everything. Okay, and for you brothers that's doing that, this is the law right here. This is a law. Okay, keep the doors of thy mouth from her that lieth in thy bosom. You can't tell your wife everything. Now, going back to Samson dealing with this heathen woman, okay, again, he didn't keep his mouth from her. He told her his secret. Okay, I've been a Nazarite. Nobody's cut my hair. Okay, that's where my strength lies. All right. Had he kept Deuteronomy 7 and 3, don't make marriages with them, don't deal with the women. Matter of fact, let me read that real quick. Deuteronomy 7 and 3. Okay. Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 3. Neither shalt thou make marriages with them. Thy daughter thou shalt not give unto his son, nor his daughter shalt thou take unto thy son. For they will turn away thy son from following me, that they may serve other gods. So will the anger of the Lord be kindled against you and destroy thee suddenly. Okay. God says, don't deal with women or men of the other nations. We see this being an example right here. Samson fell into it. Okay. And it destroyed him. Okay. Judges 16 again. And I started 18. And when Delilah saw that he told her, I read 17 with it. Then he told her all his heart and said unto her, there have not come a razor upon my head, for I have been a Nazarite unto God from my mother's womb. If I be shaven, then my strength will go from me, and I shall be weak and be like other men. And when Delilah, excuse me, and when Delilah saw that he had told her all his heart, she sent and called for the lords of the Philistines. Remember, it was 5 of them. Okay, really 6. 5 primary, but 6. The 6 was the Avites. She sent and called for the lords of the Philistines, saying, come up this once, for he hath showed me all his heart. Then the lords of the Philistines came up unto her and brought money in their hand. So, like I said, That's probably $100,000, right? In today's time. Now they will pay it. Remember, leadership bring this out all the time. The nations have spent billions of dollars to keep this truth away from us. They'll do anything. Okay. Don't think they don't have spies, paying spies to come in the congregation, women, okay, to try to set up some of you brothers, okay, to come after y'all so you fall into lust and sin and so forth to destroy the congregation. They will do it. They'll pay whatever they got to do. I mean, pay whatever they have to destroy you. They will do it. All right. I'm going to show y'all Romans 15:4. Let's get this. Romans chapter 15, verse 4. For whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning, that we through patience and comfort of the scriptures might have hope. Okay, so things written aforetime is written for our learning, brothers and sisters. Okay, so don't think the other nations will not set you up. They'll pay whatever they got to pay, okay, to send a woman in, send a man in for some of you sisters, maybe even, okay, spies to try to get information. What's up with this brother? What's going on with that brother? Okay, set them up, do this, do that, and the third. They're going to do it. Verse 19. And she made him sleep upon her knees, and she called for a man, and she caused him to shave off the 7 locks of his head. So the 4th time now, he gave in to her, but each time Samson dealt with her sexually, there were men, Philistines, in there waiting to kill him each time. Okay. 19 again. And she made him sleep upon her knees, and she called for a man, and she caused him to shave off the 7 locks of his head. Okay. Once again, proving Samson, which was of the tribe of Dan, of the nation of Israel, was a so-called black man. 7 locks of his head. Let me get Ezekiel. Let me show y'all this. Ezekiel chapter 8, verse 3. And he put forth the form of a hand and took me by the lock of my head. This is Ezekiel. Ezekiel had locks. Okay. And he put forth the form of an hand and took me by a lock of my head. This is one of the angels. The angels snatched him up, okay, by his lock. All right. Numbers. Let me get Numbers chapter 6. I think that's it. Let me see. Yes, Numbers chapter 6. This is the vow of the Nazarite here. Numbers chapter 6, verse, I'll start at 1. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, When either man or woman shall separate themselves to vow a vow to a Nazarite, of a Nazarite, to separate themselves unto the Lord, he shall separate himself from wine and strong drink, and shall drink no vinegar of wine or vinegar of strong drink. So now, the first prerequisite to becoming a Nazarite was no wine, no strong drink. All right. It says no vinegar of wine, no vinegar of strong drink at all. Neither shall he drink any liquor of grapes, nor eat moist grapes or dried. So no grapes at all. All right. No wine, no grapes, none of that. All the days of his separation shall he eat nothing that is made of the vine tree, from the kernels even to the husk. All right. All the days of the vow of his separation, there shall no razor come upon his head, until the days be fulfilled in the which he separateth himself unto the Lord. He shall be holy, and shall let the locks of the hair of his head grow. He shall let the locks of his head grow. Okay. All right. All the days that he separated himself unto the Lord, he shall come at no dead body as well. So now, just as a sidebar, right? Is it something wrong with you brothers and sisters having quote unquote locks, whether they be braids or actual what they call dreadlocks? No, it's nothing wrong with it. But you can't keep the vow of a Nazirite today. Can't do it. Right? And I'm gonna show you right now why. First Corinthians chapter 11, verse 23. We read this every Sabbath after class. For I have received of the Lord that which also I delivered unto you, that the Lord Jesus, the same night in which he was betrayed, took bread. And when he had given thanks, he brake it and said, Take, eat. This is my body, which is broken for you. This do in remembrance of me. After the same manner, also he took the cup when he had supped, saying, This is the New Testament in my blood. This do ye as oft as ye drink it in remembrance of me. So now the breaking the bread and the wine. Okay. Christ said in verse 25, it says, After the same manner also he took the cup when he had supped, saying, This is the cup of the New Testament. This is the New Testament in my blood. Let me read again. This cup is the New Testament in my blood. This do ye as oft as ye drink it in remembrance of me. So do this in remembrance of me. Break the bread, drink the wine. What's wine made out of? Grapes. Okay. For as often as ye eat this bread and drink this cup, you do show the Lord's death till he come. So we have to do that. Okay. Men and women that are of age, we have to partake in the breaking of the bread and the wine in honor of Christ laying down his life for us. So we can't be literal Nazarites today. Okay, we can't do it. But again, there's nothing wrong with letting your hair grow. Verse Judges 16. I'll read 19 again. And she made him sleep upon her knees. And she called for a man and she caused him to shave off the 7 locks of his head. And she began to afflict him, and his strength went from him. And she said, The Philistines be upon thee, Samson. And he awoke out of his sleep and said, I will go out other times before and shake myself, and wist not that the Lord was departed from him. So he said, listen, I don't give a damn. I'm going to go out and do everything I've been doing before. Okay, they can't do nothing to me. But he had told her the secret. He didn't know the Spirit of the Lord had departed from him because he told her the secret and his locks was cut. All right. Let's go to verse 21. But the Philistines took him and put out his eyes and brought him down to Gaza and bound him with fetters of brass, and he did grind in the prison house. So they plucked out his eyes and made him work in the prison house. It says he did grind in the prison house. Excuse me. Now that grinding, I want to show y'all something. Isaiah chapter 47. It says he did grind in the prison house. Isaiah chapter 47, verse 1. This is talking about America, okay, Babylon the Great, because she portrays herself as a virgin daughter. But watch what it says here. Come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. That's the proof. O virgin daughter, of Babylon. Who is the daughter of Babylon? Edom, the so-called white man. Sit on the ground. There is no throne, O daughter of the Chaldees, for thou shalt no more be called tender and delicate. Take the millstones and grind meal. Uncover thy locks, make bare the leg, uncover the thigh, pass over the rivers. Thy nakedness shall be uncovered, yea, thy shame shall be seen. I will take vengeance, I will not meet thee as a man. This is Christ speaking, okay? Through Isaiah, he says, when I come back, I'm not going to meet you as a man. But what I want y'all to see is this virgin daughter of Babylon, okay, in verse 2, the punishment, it says, take the millstones and grind meal, okay? Grind meal. Matthew 24. So this woman was told to grind meal. All right. Matthew 24. And it's like 40. Okay. Verse 40. I started at 40. 41 is the point. Then shall two be in the field, the one shall be taken and the other left. Two women shall be grinding at the mill, the one shall be taken and the other left. So grinding at the mill. Remember in Isaiah 47, it says, take the millstones and grind meal. Okay. Why am I highlighting this? This is stuff that primarily women did. Okay. Grinding meal. Okay, this is a process of like making bread and so forth, breaking down the wheat to make breads and so forth. Grinding mill. Where I want to go? Deuteronomy. I do want to show y'all this law. All right, so y'all can see why this law actually was instituted. That said, take the millstones. So meaning it was two stones, right, that they used to grind meal. I'll show y'all some images in a second. All right. Deuteronomy chapter 24, verse 6. This is why this law says this. It says, no man shall take the nether or upper millstone to pledge, for he taketh a man's life to pledge. So meaning like this is basically civil law right here. Okay, remember we got 5 categories: sacrificial, dietary, moral, civil, and ceremonial. This civil law says, no man shall take the nether or upper millstone to pledge, for he taketh a man's life to pledge. What is that talking about? The 2 millstones that was used to grind meal. Again, I'll show y'all some images in a second. There was another one in Judges, actually. I read it in one of the previous lessons. I'm gonna show y'all. Let me get the images first, and then I'll show y'all why it says that here. Give me a sec. Okay, so this is an example right here. Right? 2 women, like Christ said in Matthew 24. 24 and 41. 2 women shall be grinding at the mill, the one shall be taken, the other left. Okay, just going into work, right? Different aspects of work. But this is what it means when it says grinding mill. And you see it in Isaiah 47. It told the virgin daughter of Babylon, which is so-called America, is going to come a time where they're going to have to work. They're going to be enslaved. That's what it's saying. All right. So you see the 2 stones there in the image, 2 stones that was used to grind the mill. The material goes down in between the 2 stones, and as they spin the upper millstone, it grinds it on the lower one. Okay. Or as the scripture says in Deuteronomy 24, the nether. Okay. We were not to take what does it say? The nether and upper millstone to pledge. Meaning what? Like if your brother needed something from you, you don't take those particular stones as a pledge, so he would like basically pay you back. All right, here's another image. All right, these are some young girls. Same thing, the upper and nether millstone. Now I want to show y'all something in Judges chapter 9. I read this in one of the previous lessons. I'll start at 52. And Abimelech came unto the tower and fought against it, and went hard unto the door of the tower to burn it with fire. And a certain woman cast a piece of a millstone upon Abimelech's head, and all to break his skull. So it says a certain woman cast a piece of a millstone. Again, it's I want y'all to see it's correlating women with millstones. Women with millstones. We read it in Matthew 24, Isaiah 47. It said that virgin daughter would take the millstone. This certain woman here cast a millstone on Abimelech's head. So these are smaller versions right here, obviously, that, you know, women can pick up. Okay, that says a piece of a millstone in Judges chapter 9. But this is primarily women's work. That's what I want y'all to see. Primarily women's work. Okay. All these different variations. All right, y'all see. This is another example right here. This is a larger one. Okay. It's a different style. Okay, likewise this one. You may see like images of like animals on the end of that stick. You know, the stick that's going out towards the right. An animal, I mean, a human could push it as well, but oftentimes you may see if they're real large, an animal will just be like a donkey will be walking around in a circle, just grinding. Okay, but what is the point of this? The point is they made Samson do women's work, okay, in prison, primarily women's work. That's what I'm showing y'all. All right. Verse 21 again. But the Philistines took him and put out his eyes and brought him down to Gaza and bound him with fetters of brass, and he did grind in the prison house. Okay. Now, all that great strength. Remember earlier we read he took the doors of the gate of the city, the bars and all, everything, traveled damn near 37 miles and took it to a hill before Hebron. Now he's in the prison, you know, a grinding mill. Okay. That's Proverbs 6, matter of fact. Let me get Proverbs 6. Proverbs 6 and verse 26. I'll read 25. Lust not after her beauty in thine heart, neither let her take thee with her eyelids. For by means of a whorish woman, a man is brought to a piece of bread. For by means of a whorish woman, a man is brought to a piece of bread. And the adulteress will hunt for the precious life. Can a man take fire in his bosom and his clothes not be burned? No, you cannot. You cannot take fire in your bosom and your clothes don't get burned. God said, don't make marriages with the heathen. Can you take fire in your bosom and not get burned? No. Okay. So now it's great strength being able to carry the gate of the city, bars and all, 37 miles. Now he's sitting in the prison. Okay. Grinding mill. All right. Brought to a piece of bread. Nothing. Verse 22. Howbeit, the hair of his head began to grow again after he was shaven. Then the lords of the Philistines gathered them together for to offer a great sacrifice unto Dagon, their god. That term Dagon means little fish, okay, or fish. Dagon, their god, and to rejoice, for they said, our God hath delivered Samson, our God hath delivered Samson, our enemy, into our hands. So our God, Dagon, have delivered Samson, our enemy, into our hands. So they're honoring Dagon, okay? Now think about this. Meanwhile, Samson dealing with Delilah, and all the time she's just trying to set him up to destroy him. Okay? And they honoring, they paid her damn near $100,000 in today's time to destroy him. Now they honoring their God to say, yeah, okay. He delivered them into our hands. Dagon did that. Psalms 96 and verse 5. For all the gods of the nations are idols, but the Lord made the heavens. The gods of the nations are idols. They have no power. They have no authority. But meanwhile, the heathen, listen, they made this actual God. They made it with their hands, and then they honor it as a God. You got to be simple as hell to honor something that you made yourself. All right. Then the lords of the Philistines gathered them together for to offer a sacrifice, a great sacrifice, it says, unto Dagon their God, and to rejoice, for they said, our God have delivered Samson, our enemy, into our hands. Now, I want to get something on that. I want to show y'all this. All right. Dagon. All right. Strangely, the name means corn or also fish, right? Or little fish. Dagon is a Mesopotamian deity depicted with the body of a fish. Okay. Depicted with the body of a fish, as well as the head and hands of a man, and is believed to bring life to nature through water. Dagon, a Philistine deity, was also worshipped for his perceived power over agriculture. Notice it says his perceived power. All right. Perceived power. These damn heathen idols didn't have any power at all. His perceived power over agriculture. Dagon worship dates back, Dagon worship dates back to 2000 BC. All right, Judges 16:23, which we just read. All right. Check this out right here. This is an image. Okay. Y'all see it has the head of a fish. All right, but it has the figure of a man as well. All right, this is what they worship. This is what they worship. A damn fish. Okay, but check this out. Check this out right here. All right, you see the Pope here with the Dagon hat. All right, the same idolatry from back with the Philistines thousands of years ago. The so-called sign of the fish, that comes from Dagon. That has nothing to do with Christ feeding the multitude with fish and loaves of bread. It ain't got nothing to do with that. Okay, that sign of the fish goes back to Dagon. This is a pagan deity. All right, an idol. You see at the top right, the Dagon Mitri. That's the same damn hat that the Pope has on. All right. So back, you know, the Egyptians worship the same damn thing, the ancient Egyptians, as Baal. Okay. Now here we are with the Philistines. They're calling Baal Dagon. All right. I'm going to read Jeremiah chapter 8. And you see the Pope with the damn hat on. Right? Dagon. It's the same stuff. Same idolatry. Same filth and foolishness. Jeremiah chapter 2, verse 11. Hath a nation changed their gods, which are yet no gods? That's a question. God is asking, have they changed their gods, which are yet no gods? The answer to that is no. We see it right here on the screen. They didn't change their gods. The Egyptians worship Baal. The Philistines call him Dagon. Now the Pope put the hat on. Now they got the sign of the fish trying to say that's with Christ and all that. It's all filth and foolishness. Hath a nation changed their gods, which are yet no gods? They have not. The only thing they did was rebrand them. They renamed them something else. The same thing as, like Ishtar, Ashtoreth, Easter. Same thing. They didn't change it. They just updated it. It's the same filth from before. Jeremiah 2:11 again. Hath a nation changed their gods, which are yet no gods? But my people have changed their glory for that which doth not profit. You see that? Same thing with Samson. Okay. Instead of keeping the laws of the Most High, he dealt with the heathen woman. He changed his glory into that which does not profit. Okay. Same thing we do today. Not we, as in us repentant Israelites, but our people as a nation. We follow the Caucasian image of Jesus. All these different religions that's not in the Bible at all. We changed our God into that which does not profit. Back to Judges 16, verse 23. So Dagon again, the fish god. Then the Lord of the Philistines gathered them together to offer a great sacrifice unto Dagon their god, and to rejoice, for they said, our God hath delivered Samson, our enemy, into our hand. And when the people saw him, they praised their God, for they said, our God hath delivered into our hands our enemy, and the destroyer of our country, which slew many of us. And it came to pass, when their hearts were merry, they said, call for Samson, that he may make us sport. And they called for Samson out of the prison house, and he made them sport. And they set him between the pillars. So they rejoiced. They rejoiced that Samson was brought to a low estate, and they were able to basically afflict him, plucked out his eyes, put him in the prison, made him grind meal. They rejoiced over that. That was the same thing that happened to us, right? As a whole in slavery. The nations don't like you. I don't understand what you so-called Negroes are not understanding. They don't like you. God told you they have a perpetual hatred for you. Okay? Oh, why do they treat us like this? God told you why. Remember Romans 15:4. Things that were written aforetime were written for our learning. Watch this. This right here is written for our learning here. Lamentations chapter 2, verse 16. All thine enemies have opened their mouth against thee. They hiss, they gnash their teeth. They say, we have swallowed her up. Certainly, this is the day we have looked for. We have found, we have seen it. Thank God. They gave honor to so-called white Jesus that they destroyed our people. Okay? They honored their deity. The scriptures say that, just like the Philistines did. They offered a great sacrifice to Dagon in destroying Samson. Same thing with us as a people. The same exact thing. And then turn around and made us worship that damn Caesar Borgia. Verse 26 in Judges 16. And Samson said unto the lad that held him by the hand, suffer me, that I may feel the pillars wherein the house standeth, that I may lean upon them. Now the house was full of men and women, and all the lords of the Philistines were there. And all the lords of the Philistines were there. And there were upon the roof about 3,000 men and women that beheld while Samson made sport. So there were upon the roof about 3,000 men, just on the roof alone. Okay. And Samson called unto the Lord and said, O Lord God, remember me, I pray thee, and strengthen me. I pray thee only this once, O God, that I may be at once avenged of the Philistines for my 2 eyes. So he prayed to the Lord, avenge me for my 2 eyes. Okay. Remember the Most High in Judges 14 again, verse 4, but his father and his mother knew not that it was of the Lord that he sought an occasion against the Philistines. Okay. So all this happened because the Lord had a master plan to destroy the Philistines. Verse 29, and Samson took hold of the 2 middle pillars upon which the house stood, and on which it was borne up of the one with his right hand and the other with his left. All right, and Samson said, let me die with the Philistines. And he bowed himself with all his might, and the house fell upon the lords and upon all the people that were therein. All right. So notice it says, and the house fell upon the lords and upon all the people that were therein. We already read 3,000 people on the roof. So you had another, 3,000-4,000, whatever the case, under the roof as well. So the dead which he slew at his death was more than they which he slew in his life. All right. All praise to the Lord for that thing. So the dead which he slew at his death was more than he slew in his life. Then his brethren and all the house of his father came down and took him and brought him up and buried him between Zorah and Eshtaol in the burying place of Manoah his father. And he judged Israel 20 years. All right. I'll show y'all that on the map again. It says, then his brethren and all his house and all the house of his father came down and took him and brought him up and buried him between Zorah and Eshtaol. All right. Zorah and Eshtaol again at the bottom of the tribal allotment of Dan, bottom of the orange. Y'all see those two cities there. That's where he was buried at. So now, I want to, we got a little bit of time. I'm going to transition into the actual tribe of Dan. What happened to Dan? Let's go to Genesis 49. I read verse 1. And Jacob called unto his sons and said, gather yourselves together, that I may show thee that which shall befall you in the last days. Okay? So this is prophetic. This is prophecy. I'm going to show you what's going to happen to you in the last days. Verse 16. Dan shall judge his people as one of the tribes of Israel. Okay. Dan shall judge his people as one of the tribes of Israel. That's primarily talking about Samson during his time. Okay. But 17 is a point. Dan shall be a serpent by the way, an adder in the path, that biteth the horse's heel, so that his rider shall fall backwards. Okay. Dan shall be a serpent by the way, an adder in the path, that biteth the horse's heel, that his rider shall fall backwards. All right. What does that mean? Let me get this other map real quick. Remember when you read about, you read in 2nd Ezra chapter 13, read about the 10 tribes of Israel coming to this side of the earth. So it says when they come to this side of the earth, verse 17, remember this, the last days, Dan shall be a serpent by the way, an adder in the path. An adder is another name for a serpent, that biteth the horse's heel, so that his rider shall fall backwards. All right. Fall off the horse and die. Kill him. Destroy him. Okay. They would set traps for the enemy. Give me a second. Let me find this map real quick. This is an example, right? Well, this is the map right here. I think I have another one, but y'all see these islands here in the shape of a serpent. Okay. This is where Dan dwelt primarily when they came to this side in the Eastern Caribbean islands. It says, Dan shall be a serpent by the way, an adder in the path, that biteth the horse's heel, so that his rider shall fall backwards. All right. The Eastern Caribbeans is primarily where Dan dwelt. All right, coming to this side. Let me read this right here. All right. Dan is Jacob's fifth son by Rachel, right? Through her maid Bilhah's surrogacy. His name means judge. That's why Genesis 49 verse 16 says, Dan shall judge his people as one of the tribes of Israel. That term Dan means judge. All right. His name means judge. Dan received a quite unfavorable prophecy from his father that threw the tribe into a depth of idolatry and immorality for which it never recovered, according to Genesis 49:17. So now they're saying that prophecy meant that they would be in idolatry and so forth. It's primarily talking, remember, it says the last days. So it's not talking about the idolatry that they were dealing with at that time. It's saying they would set traps for the enemy. I mean, it goes into their idolatry as well, but primarily it's talking about what they would do on this side. All right. According to Genesis 49:17, he would become a serpent, although his call was to be judge in Israel. The serpentine ascription referred to Dan's penchant for an ultimate submersion into the ways of the heathen. Jacob's prophecy proved true, for in Judges 1:34, the tribe of Dan was unable to possess his inheritance and was overthrown by the powerful and cagey Amorites. Dan surrendered to their resistance and became neighbors with them to his ruin. According to Judges 18, the tribe of Dan was succumb fully to their culture and was outright, let me see. Dan surrendered to their resistance and became neighbors with them to his ruin. Trying to find the next page. According to Judges 18, the tribe of Dan had succumbed fully to their culture and was an outright, let me transition here, Amorite influenced people. Later, their land became the center of the second idolatrous worship center created by King Jeroboam. So now that's later in history. It says later, their land became the center of the second idolatrous worship center created by King Jeroboam. This was due to their notoriety as a region settled in the demonic worship forms. So Jeroboam drew on Dan's infamy to divert Israel's faith from Jerusalem to his own territory. All right, by the time of Revelation 7, the tribe of Dan is conspicuously absent from the list of the 12 tribes sealed during the apocalypse era. In their place, we find the tribe of Manasseh. So it says Jeroboam drew on Dan's infamy to divert Israel's faith from Jerusalem to his own territory. All right. And you read that in the prophecy. Give me 1 second. All right. Get back here. So now going back to that prophecy on Dan in Genesis 49:17, it says, Dan shall be a serpent by the way, an adder in the path that biteth the horse's heel, so that his rider shall fall backwards. All right. Deuteronomy chapter 33. All right. Dealing with the tribes of Israel, there's primarily, there's 4 places, right? 4 places. Obviously, Deuteronomy 28 as a whole, right? That's all the tribes. Then you have 2nd Ezra 13. That's dealing with the 10 tribes coming to this side of the world, so-called America, which is Austerith in the Bible. Then Genesis 49 and Deuteronomy 33 break down the individual tribes' attributes, okay, along with the reading throughout the history, understanding the attributes of the tribe, like we read in Judges about Samson. Okay. Very mighty, but simple nevertheless. So the tribe of Dan, being very idolatrous, goes into how Samson's mentality was. Okay, how his spirit was. Go to hell off very easy. Dirty. Deuteronomy 33 and 22. And of Dan he said, Dan is a lion's whelp. He shall leap from Bashan. So now, going back to this map, right? I want to show y'all this map, right? When you look at Dan, right? Right beside Dan is Benjamin. And Dan is in the orange, Benjamin is in that light orange, you know. So those particular tribes were right beside each other. I want to see if I can get this other one real quick. I may not have it, but those two tribes, Dan and Benjamin, were right beside each other. Now, coming on this side of the world, right? Going back to this map again, remember it says Dan should be an adder in the path, right? These different islands on the Eastern Caribbean, when you get down to like Grenada, all right? Below Grenada, right, you have Trinidad and Tobago. Again, Dan and Benjamin dwelt in close proximity, not only in the land of Israel, but on this side as well. Okay? So when it says in Deuteronomy 33, verse 22, and of Dan he said, Dan is a lion's whelp, meaning very strong, very fierce, warlike. He shall leap from Bashan. Okay? Meaning he leaped off the cliffs and he was absorbed into the tribe closest to him, which is primarily Benjamin. Okay? That's what that's going into. Primarily Benjamin. Give me 1 second. All right, so now looking back at this map, it's hard to see. Matter of fact, I'll get a different picture real quick. I'll get a close up of. If you look at the bottom, you see again Trinidad and Tobago, along with the islands above it that's in the shape of a serpent. You had going back to the prophecy in Genesis 49. I'm gonna show y'all this again. Genesis 49. I'll read it again, rather. Verse 17, Dan shall be a serpent by the way, an adder in the path that biteth the horse's heel, so that his rider shall fall backwards. So now where it says a serpent by the way, obviously again, going into how these different islands are in the shape of like a snake or a serpent. Okay. But also, when you look at the bottom, again, Trinidad and Tobago, there's two water channels called Dragon's Mouth and Serpent's Mouth. When you look at the top left on the map, where it says Port of Spain, right beside Port of Spain, you see Dragon's Mouth right there. Dragon's Mouth at the top left, and then all the way at the bottom, near the Israel United in Christ logo, you see Serpent's Mouth. Okay, you had two different water channels. They're still there, actually, in that region. Okay. This is right here is an old map, right? You see it says Bocas del Dragon, meaning the mouth of the dragon. Okay. Old map right here. Dragon's mouth to serpent's mouth. See that? Serpent's mouth there. That's what there's a prophecy of Dan. Remember, Genesis 49:1 says And Jacob called unto his sons and said, gather yourselves together, that I may tell you that which shall befall you in the last days. So again, going back to Deuteronomy 33 and 22, and of Dan, he said, Dan is a lion's whelp. He shall leap from Bashan, meaning leap up from the cliffs and be absorbed into the tribe closest to him. Okay. Which again would be the tribe of Benjamin. Okay. Tribe of Benjamin. That's what that's going into. Now, I want y'all to see this. Y'all see this right here. Check this out. The European arrivals in the Lesser Antilles found territories sparsely inhabited, for the most part by the warlike Caribs. You see this? By the warlike Caribs. Now, you know how they call so-called Puerto Ricans, so-called Ephraimites, they call them Puerto Ricans, so-called. They call the Negroes African Americans. They call Benjamin Jamaicans. Levi, they call Haitians. During this time on this side, the tribe of Dan were called Caribs. All right, they were named that due to those Caribbean islands. Okay, Caribs. All right. The Lesser Antilles are those Caribbean islands in the form of that serpent or that snake that we see. All right. So the European arrivals in the Lesser Antilles found territories sparsely inhabited, for the most part by the warlike Caribs. Again, remember the prophecy, Deuteronomy 33:22. I read it here. And of Dan, he said, Dan is a lion's whelp. All right. A lion's whelp. Remember in Genesis 49, it says they would bite the horse's heel. They would be an adder in the path. Warlike, just like Samson. Warriors, okay? For the most part, by the warlike Caribs, who frequently opposed their intrusion. So now the Caribs opposed the intrusion of the so-called Europeans. That's Genesis 49, again, 17. Dan shall be a serpent by the way, an adder in the path that biteth the horse's heel, so that his rider shall fall backwards. They oppose the intrusion of the so-called Caucasian man. Obviously, in the end, we were overcome. They were overcome. All of the tribes were, because again, the prophecy had to be fulfilled, right? But this prophecy was fulfilled about them, how they would oppose the intrusion of the so-called Europeans. That's what we're reading about here. All right. I'll read this again from the top. The European arrivals in the Lesser Antilles found territories sparsely inhabited, for the most part by the warlike Caribs, who frequently opposed their intrusion. Many an uprising took place, but by the end of the century, a fairly general pattern had been established. The Caribs were decimated. You see that? The Caribs were decimated or expelled, removing to Dominica and to St. Vincent. What happened to Grenada may be taken as typical of this phase of the Caribbean history. The Caribs were literally exterminated by the French, the last group throwing themselves headlong from a precipice, which means the rock. It says the last group throwing themselves headlong from a precipice. Now, that goes with, okay, Deuteronomy. Again, I'll read again. I'm going to keep this on the screen. Deuteronomy 33 and 22. And of Dan, he said, Dan is a lion's whelp. We see that. The warlike Caribs. All right. He shall leap from Bashan. Okay. He shall leap from Bashan. That's like jumping from a cliff. Okay. Or being absorbed into Benjamin, the closest tribe to them. Right. But look at this history book again. It says the Caribs were literally exterminated by the French, the last group, throwing themselves headlong from a precipice. Okay, that's similar to leaping from Bashan, which has since been called Les Mornes des Sutes, which means Leaper's Hill. I'm gonna skip down to the other highlighted part. Especially after the inconsiderable decline of the population as a result of the encomiendas. So now, I want to deal with that term right there. I want to deal with that term, encomiendas. Do I want to read the rest of this? I'm just trying to get to the point. Hold on a sec. Let's look at this right here. The encomienda. All right, remember we saw that in that other book. It says, was a Spanish labor system that rewarded conquerors with the labor of the conquered, non-Christian peoples. Okay. This was a Spanish labor system that rewarded conquerors with the labor of conquered non-Christian peoples. The laborers, in theory, were provided with benefits by the conquerors for whom they labored, including military protection and education. So now they're saying, okay, the tribe of Dan, the Caribs, we're going to educate you. We're going to give you military protection and educations. Okay, same stuff. Kill the Indian, save the man. We're going to re-educate you. We're going to teach you how to be a white Christian, okay, with black skin. I want to go up. Give me a second. The encomienda was first established in Spain following the Christian reconquest of the Moorish territories. So now the same thing they did to us in Spain, they did it over here. It's telling us they did this to the tribe of Dan, the Caribs. Okay. The encomienda was first established in Spain following the Christian reconquest. That's called the Renaissance there. Okay. The Renaissance of the Moorish territories, the black territories, known to Christians as the Reconquista. Okay. The reconquering. It was applied on a much larger scale. So the same thing they did in Spain to us as the Moors over there. It was applied on a much larger scale during the Spanish colonization of the Americas and the Spanish East Indies. All right. Conquered peoples were considered vassals, which means basically a subject. Okay. Conquered peoples were considered vassals of the Spanish monarch. The crown awarded an encomienda as a grant to a particular individual. In the conquest era of the early 16th century, the grants were considered to be a monopoly on the labor of particular groups of indigenous peoples held in perpetuity by the grant holder called the encomiendor. Something like that. I might have jacked that word up. Bear with me. So now, going back to this book. I'm gonna read from Leaper's Hill, right? That last highlighted part of the middle. I'm gonna read down. All right. Very little effort was made to enslave the indigenous population. Listen, Israel. Very little effort was made to enslave the indigenous population. Okay, this is talking about the Caribs, the tribe of Dan, that dwelt in the Lesser Antilles. Again, that's that mountain range that looks like a serpent. Though we have accounts of Barbados, which speak of Indian slaves imported from Spanish islands and the mainland, the men to be used as hunters, the women as domestic servants, but the Indian supply inadequate and unsuitable for the Spaniards in the 16th century could hardly have satisfied the English and the French in the 17th. especially after the considerable decline of population as a result of the encomiendas. So now it's saying, I'll read again from but the Indian supply, meaning the amount of slaves or servants, inadequate and unsuitable for the Spaniards in the 16th century, could hardly have satisfied the English and the French in the 17th century, especially after the considerable decline of the population as a result of the encomiendas. Okay, meaning enslaving the people, they killed them. Notice when we read up, let's go back up to in this book right here, where it says many. It's like the third sentence. Many an uprising took place, but by the end of the century, a fairly general pattern had been established. The Caribs were decimated or expelled. Okay, that's why it's saying that. Due to the encomiendas, the enslavement of the people. All right, I'm going to keep reading this. The Europeans turned therefore to Europe for white labor, and the Spaniards before them had done. So now here we go. Here we go with the BS. Oh, see, white people were in slavery too. Yeah, okay. We're gonna clarify this. It says the Europeans turned therefore to Europe for white labor, as the Spaniards before them had done. White immigration in the 17th century, however, was not free but involuntary. So they worked, they got paid. It said they worked, but it was not for free. Okay. Contemporary opinion in Europe concerned about the growth of the populations and unemployment at home saw in this immigration an advantage not only to the colonies, but also to the metropolitan country. So they said, listen, this can benefit all of us. We can bring more white people over here to take over the damn land. That's what they're saying. There were three main sources of supply. The first was the indentured servant. Again, the indentured servant. The white man was not in slavery and hard bondage like the Israelites. Okay. The first was the indentured servant. The engage or engagee, as was called in France, a man or a woman who in a straitened circumstances agreed to immigrate to the colonies at the expense of another. You see that? So they agreed to immigrate to the colonies at the expense of another and to serve for a term, generally 3 years, hence the popular French description, the 36-monthers, occasionally as many as 5. At the end of the term, the servant was free and generally received a grant of land from 3 to 5 acres. Okay. This did not happen to the so-called Negroes at all. All right. They whipped us, killed us, enslaved us. We never got 40 acres and a mule. We never got anything. Okay. The system became one of the chief means of recruiting labor. You see this? The system became one of the chief means of recruiting labor, skilled as well as unskilled. For example, I think I'm going to stop there. The point is, the Caucasians were not enslaved like the so-called Negroes. Okay. They were not. Indentured servitude is something totally different. Totally different. I'm going to go back to this book right here. I started the highlighted part. In an effort to reinforce one of the expeditions to Guyana, the English made their first attempt to settle in the West Indies in St. Lucia in 1605. But the settlement was a failure as a result of the hostility of the Carib Indians. Y'all see this? But the settlement was a failure as a result of the hostility. Remember the other book, the other page said the warlike Caribs. This is the tribe of Dan, just like Samson, his spirit, very warlike. Okay. But the settlement was a failure as a result of the hostility of the Carib Indians. A similar attempt to settle in Grenada 4 years later failed for the same reason. Again, that's Genesis chapter 49. 17 again. Dan shall be a serpent by the way, an adder in the path, that biteth the horse's heel, so that his rider shall fall backwards. Okay, they opposed the intrusion of the English, the Spaniards, and so forth. They opposed them. All right, I'll read that highlighted part again. But the settlement was a failure as a result of the hostility of the Carib Indians. A similar attempt to settle in Grenada 4 years later failed for the same reason. I'm going to skip down to the next highlighted part. The two nations decided to partition the island between themselves. That's talking about the Dutch and the English. Let me see. Okay. I wanna get that that last part at the bottom. What did the new nations propose to do with their new Caribbean colonies? This question. What did the new nations propose to do to their new Caribbean colonies? The Spaniards had made no bones about their policy. They wanted gold. They wanted sugar. They wanted both reserved to Spain. Gold and sugar for Spain. If they could get both only by enslaving the Amerindians and transporting enslaved Africans, they were prepared to enslave. So they were going to do it. Okay, we're going to enslave these people. All right, that's what they did. Again, this is the 12 tribes of Israel. Deuteronomy 28. Okay. It's oppression, slavery, colonization, loss of identity. All right. That's what Deuteronomy 28 is about. The enslavement of the Israelites. All right. So now let's go to Ecclesiastes. Right. In that book, it said the Caribs were really almost decimated, right? Almost decimated. But they would leap from, the prophecy says they would leap from Bashan, okay, or from the cliffs and be absorbed into tribe of Benjamin. Now, because again, Benjamin is right there next to Dan. Ecclesiastes 4, verse 16. There is no end of all the people, even of all that have been before them. Okay, they also that come after shall not rejoice in him. Surely this is also vanity and vexation of spirit. Okay, but the point I want is at the top. There is no end of all the people. So the tribe of Dan still exists. They just don't have an inheritance, okay, amongst the tribes as an individual tribe. And why? Amos chapter 8. Remember, we read it in that book earlier. It says Jeroboam used them. When you read that history in the book of Kings, it says he put one, I think in Bethel, and the other he put in Dan. He made two calves. The one he put in Dan, and it says the people primarily went to Dan primarily. Okay, Dan was a very rebellious, idol worshiping tribe. Okay, but very simple. Okay, easy to be swayed into idolatry. So this is the prophecy, Isaiah 8 and 14. They that swear by the sin of Samaria and say, thy God, O Dan, liveth, and the manner of Beersheba liveth, even they shall fall and never rise up again. All right. They that swear by the sin of Samaria and say, thy God, O Dan, liveth. So remember, again, he put one in this city and they put one in Dan, the calves. And they said, oh, thy God, O Dan, liveth. And the manner of Beersheba liveth, even they shall fall and never rise up again. Okay. So that's the prophecy. That's the prophecy on Dan, the tribe of Dan. You read the history books, they were very warlike, opposing the intrusion of the so-called white man. just like Samson did with the Philistines, but very idolatrous, simple-minded, and they ended up not getting an inheritance, just like Samson lost his eyes, okay, for following after and falling in lust and sin with heathen women and so forth. Okay, similar attributes amongst the tribes. Y'all see this. So I'm gonna close it out there. Israel. Lord willing, y'all got something out of the lesson. All right, this has been History in the AM. I'm Captain Josiah. With that, Most High in Christ bless. It's been a pleasure sitting before y'all. Shalom, Israel. All right, y'all have a good one.